So I was having this conversation the other day with a friend of mine about how polarized people are when it comes to talking about the appropriate levels of socialization and human interaction during Mass. Now, you might not think that that's something people would get upset about, but it really is. I mean, we were talking about this on a video one day, and the comments were just like boom, 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 boom. Everywhere from, you know what, everyone just needs to loosen up a little bit and have fun at Mass, to if anyone talks to me, they're the devil. I mean, maybe not quite that bad, but that's what it can feel like sometimes. So today what I want to talk about is how do we find the right balance between like being irreverent and crazy and being completely unwelcoming. Now I know either one of those sounds like, why would you want to find balance between those, right? Well, that's the idea. Because let's face it, both of those extremes exist in the framework of the Mass, don't they? I mean, you see them. I mean, how many of you have seen people who are like, they are just a grouch fest when it comes to going to Mass? You've seen them, like you walk in and you see them and they're just, and they couldn't look more miserable. I'm like, you're about to receive Jesus. You are in church. You're going to hear the word of God. You just look like someone kicked your dog. What's the deal? And then you've got other people who they are just like jumping over the pews, high-fiving everybody, and they want to talk to everybody, and they don't care that someone's trying to pray and whatever, and it's like completely distracting and disrespectful. I mean, those things exist. So what do? Let me talk first to my good friends in the grouchy Catholic world, all right? And you know what? Here's the deal. I can do this because sometimes that could be me, all right? I mean, we all have our moments, don't we? Where we're just in a mood and we don't want to deal with other humans and we just want to go and pray, go to church, receive Jesus, and then get out of there because whatever. Well, I want to warn us, okay, and I use us because I've been like that too. We got to be careful because if we fall into this grouchiness, we can really be hurting some people. And you might think, Keith, how does my behavior in Mass, I just want to be left alone, how's that hurting anybody? Because there are two types of people that can really have an issue with, okay? And the first one is this. There are people in your church that very well might be exploring Catholicism, and this is their first time ever going to Mass. And if the first time they go to Mass, they have encounters with grouchy Catholics, that could be the last time they go to Mass. And I know what I'm talking about. I remember going to Mass sometimes feeling this crazy feeling. And you got to remember, people who are being drawn into the Catholic faith, they're already like super tripped out because it's really a crazy situation and they're intimidated and they don't know what to do. They're uncomfortable, but yet something's drawing them in to this church. And if they walk in and they're looking around maybe for a place to sit, you know, and they don't know where to go, and everywhere they look, everyone's kind of just giving them the stink eye or not acknowledging them, that can be very off-putting, my friends. We got to be careful about that. We want to give people the best experience possible when they come into our church. We want them to feel welcomed and appreciated and like we're happy that they've come, not like they just invaded our space. And when we put off this grouchy vibe, you know, we can damage them. See, human beings, you know, we do that. We give off a vibe. And you know what I'm talking about. You know, some people just walk around with the vibe of, get away from me, I hate everybody. And other people walk around with the vibe of, hey, I'll be your best friend right now. You know, you have to think about how we behave affects other people. You might say, well, I don't care. Well, you should. You really should, okay? Because Jesus cares. So we could be hurting the people who are exploring Catholicism for the first time. You know who else we could be hurting? The people in our parishes that are thinking about leaving. You know, I used to be a pastor and I would have a lot of people come into my office and talk to me who were Catholics, who were leaving the Catholic Church to come to our Protestant church. And oftentimes what they'd say to me was, you know, Keith, I've been going to the Catholic Church my whole life and it's just kind of ritualistic and stuffy and whatever. And then I came into this church and everybody was happy and excited I was here. And I made friends and people were like celebrating and it was great. And then I went back to the Catholic Church and I encountered all these miserable people and I thought, why am I here? You see, friends, there are people who are thinking about leaving. And I know that you might say, oh, well, that's because they don't love Jesus enough. Okay, great. Whatever. It doesn't matter. If you treat them badly or you act like they don't matter to you, then that could contribute to them making a big mistake and leaving Jesus, okay? And yes, I understand people leave Jesus for the wrong reasons, but don't you want them not to? And if having a an amazing encounter with people in their Mass keeps them there so that they can receive the truth, then why wouldn't we want that? So we got to be careful that we're not hurting people. We have to remember that's our responsibility, okay? Jesus said to the disciples, the world will know you are my disciples by how you love one another. Did you hear what he said? See, it's by how we treat one another that the world is going to judge whether we love Jesus or not. And if the vibe we put off in the Mass is like, this is a cold, stuffy, unwelcoming environment, then what's that going to show them about our discipleship? So we do have to think like that, my friends. And I know that we don't want to. We want it to be all about us. We want it to be all about what we think. But newsflash, it's not. We have to think about how to relate to other people. All right. Now, let's talk on the other hand, though, about people who don't seem to have this real sense of understanding what it means to be reverent or to have respect for other people. Okay? And that can happen too. There are some people that walk into the church and they don't have a clue that there may be people in the pews that just got done with confession and now they're doing their penance and they don't want to have a conversation about the big game later, and they're just like, oh, well, that guy didn't talk to me. Friends, we have to understand not everybody's in that place. Some people are preparing after a crazy week to receive Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, and that preparation might mean they need to have some silence and some moments of prayer. So we got to respect that and not take it so personally if they don't want to have a big conversation with us. So here's what I like to say to people. Look, when you come into Mass, if you want to talk to people, my own personal thing is this. Have the conversations after Mass, okay? Have them after Mass, but have them, all right? So my grouchy Catholics were like, yes, amen, brother, have them after Mass, but I'm out of there, so I don't have to be part of that. No, stick around, have the conversation. Don't be so willing to just run out of there as soon as Mass is over. Be willing to find people and talk to people and spread some love around. That's not a bad thing. And if you are a social butterfly, understand not everybody's like you, and that's okay. It doesn't make them a jerk. But wait till after Mass. But I would say this, if you're at Mass and somebody makes eye contact with you, it's okay for you to smile at them or to, give them a little wave or whatever like that. Doesn't mean you've invited the whole world to have a party in Mass. But what's worse? Somebody making eye contact and then getting this? Or somebody just doing this? That's all I'm talking about. Just a little, hey, how you doing? Little acknowledgement that I saw you. Now, I know there are times when that might feel weird. One of the most awkward times for me in Mass is after I've received Jesus in the Eucharist. If I've been sitting in the front and I'm in the pew and people are going up and they're receiving Jesus and then they're coming back towards me, right? That is not a time I want to have hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? Oh, yeah, all right, how are you? And sometimes people are like, oh, hey, Keith, how you doing? This and that. That is not what I want. So oftentimes what I'll do in that situation is after I come back to the pew and I'm kneeling there, I just don't look up until it's over. You see, that's the thing. That's the signal. If you don't want to be talked to from people, then just look down. I think people can understand that, right? But if you're just sitting there and you're just and people look at you and you still give them that stink eye, not a good thing. So if you see someone to make eye contact, give them a little wave, give them a little smile, something. Doesn't mean you have to have a big conversation. And then, like I said earlier, have the conversations after Mass, but make sure you have them. If you're there in church and you want to talk to someone, hey, make time for that afterwards. You need to do that. Don't just be the people that go in, do your business with God, and then run out of there, right? We're a family. We're supposed to act like it. All right, now, let's say you're sitting in Mass and somebody walks in who's clearly lost. They don't know what they're doing. And that might be that person I mentioned earlier who's exploring the Catholic faith. Hey, would it kill you to, maybe invite them to sit with you? You can do that. You don't have to say a big thing. You just go. See how I did that? No words came out of my mouth. It's just kind of gesture. You can do that. Not a bad thing. If they go, oh no, I'm good. Okay, fine. But at least you offered, right? What's the harm in that? I know that when I was going to Mass, if somebody would have offered to sit with me and maybe seen that I was clueless, they could have shown, oh, this is the missal. This is what we're doing now. Oh, cool. That would have been great. Fine. So if you see that, then okay. Now here's the other thing. If you see somebody, you're regular at Mass, you see somebody who's clearly new and doesn't seem like they know what they're doing, try to make it a point to greet that person afterwards. Okay? Maybe you go outside and you kind of hang around the front door and you see them come out and you go, hey, how you doing? Just want to say hi. Welcome to our church. That's okay. You don't have to like follow them to their car and like be some weird, creepy stalker. But just find a way to have these meaningful interactions. It doesn't take much, you guys, to show the love of Christ. It doesn't take much to dispel those ideas that, Catholics are a bunch of grouchy, stuffy people who don't care about anybody. All right? Now, I hate to tell you, but that's kind of the rap that we have with some people, okay? Let's dispel that. But at the same time, let's also show people how much reverence and respect we have for what we're doing. Let's show them the beauty of the Mass and how this is the most incredible moments that we will have on this earth. As the Mass, I like to say to people like this, the Mass is not like a worship service with a good band and a nice motivational speech. The Mass is going to the foot of the cross. And let's show people what that looks like with the utmost reverence and respect, but also, my friends, with openness and love as well. I hope that this makes sense. I would pray that you would maybe give some of your input underneath this. I'm sure you will, but I appreciate that. So if you have different ideas on how we can be both open and respectful and reverent at the same time, please go ahead and leave a comment in this video. I'd love to hear that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care and God bless.